Hey, coach has got a fantastic guest tonight. Shawn Holley is a former offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, O-line coach. He is we've been Facebook friends, it seems like forever. And he started I get this one now. He started in North Carolina and then has been out in Arizona for the last 4 years. But what North Carolina coaches, he's looking to get back to North Carolina. So if you got a health and PE slot available, he's available for hire and he wants to get back home. So Shawn, appreciate you being here, man. Followed each other on Facebook for a long time. Know you're an air raid guy, and tonight you're talking shallow routes. So, buddy, I appreciate you being here and looking forward to learning from you.
Yes, sir, Coach. Thank you for having me.
Well, excited. You know, I always say, coach us up like you're coaching up your JV quarterback.
All right. So I have a presentation that I'm going to start on. I'm going to share my screen here. Now,
Got it.
all right, great. So as Coach Salas already mentioned, my name's Shawn Holley. I'm going to be presenting the shallow route to you guys today. And sorry, my presentation's a little bare, but I just put this together yesterday. Been busy interviewing and all that. So I was able to put this together. So here we go, shallow. So first, we like shallow in a 2x2 set. We don't run it out of 3x1 or 2x1 very often. We can, but we usually stick to 2x2 just for simplicity's sake. We can tag any receiver on the shallow. So I know the most common one is the Y shallow, but we can tag X, H, Z, all of those guys. And the main coaching point for our running backs is we always have the running back to the side of the shallow. So if the shallow is going from left to right, the back lines up on the left, and he'll run either a swing, a shoot, or arrow, or something like that. So coaching points on the shallow can never settle, and he replaces the legs of the defensive lineman. So we don't try to go up 2-3 yards. That's a mistake a lot of guys make. We just run it at the feet of the defensive lineman. Once the defensive lineman explodes out of his stance, you're basically replacing where his back heel was. The backside slot, so if we call Y shallow, the backside slot would be H. He runs a dig at 10 yards. He can settle versus a zone, and we tell him to run against man coverage. All the remaining receivers run a vertical. Running back is on a shoot or arrow, like we already stated. And the key on this running back route is to get wide as fast as possible. Why that is the overhang player, usually an outside linebacker or maybe a roll down safety. We want to clear that coverage out and get them to the flat. So that way we have room for the shallow or the dig right behind him. So the quarterback progression, we go from shallow, we read shallow first, and then we go to the dig and then down to the running back. Okay, so we tell our quarterback, if the shallow's open, take the shallow. Don't pass up an open receiver. Only go to the next read if there's color in that grass area. So we go dig or shallow dig to the running back. The shallow crosser, we tell him once you catch the ball, get to the numbers before you try to work upfield. And we kind of teach it like almost like going on a kick return or catching a middle screen and catch the ball, get to the numbers, because you don't want to play that game with those linebackers who are 6 foot, 200 pounds. You don't want to play that game. So catch the ball, get to the numbers, and we tell our quarterback, okay, if you throw the shallow, which is what we want you to do, try to get it outside the box if you can. We know that teams like to blitz us, and when they blitz us, sometimes you may have to hit that shallow a little sooner than you want. But try to throw that shallow cross outside of the box. And I'll show you some diagrams of where we like to motion the shallow guy. So that's one of the more recent things that I've been doing. Is motioning the shallow guy, trying to get him a head start and get him a free release. So what I'll do now is I'll exit from my presentation and I'll show you some diagrams. And can you see that, Coach?
Still on your presentation.
Is it? Okay. Let's do that. And then let's go. And how about now?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So, like I said, we like to run shallows out of 2x2. Um, we'll tag any receiver on the shallow route. In this case, we have it as the H. The H runs the shallow. He replaces the heels of the defensive lineman. Y, he runs an outside release, and this is important because we want this to look like 6 for verticals play. Shallow is what we run off of 6, and we want everything to look as similar to 6 as possible. So Y takes an outside release, push to 10 yards, and then he runs the dig. Now, if it's a zone coverage, he can sit anywhere in these windows right here. But if it's man coverage, we just tell him, hey, just keep going. Um, the read is we look at the shallow first, then we come to the dig, and then down to the flat. So these outside receivers running the vert, they're basically just clearing out coverage. So that's what H shallow looks like. If we wanted to run it to an outside receiver like X, okay, we'd run X shallow. We tighten the splits, and he has the same rules. Replace the feet of the defensive lineman. Y still has the same rules as on H shallow. Outside release, make it look like you're going vertical, push to 10, and go inside on the dig. Find the first window against the zone and just settle. It's basically the settle and neutral. H takes the place of X on the vertical, so he outside release. X has the right of way, so he goes first, and then H outside releases right around him and gets vertical as fast as possible. There's no hole throw, there's no throttle. You beat the deepest cover. So if there's a safety back here at 12 yards and he's backpedaling, you beat him deep as fast as you can. And F still has the same route or the same responsibility. He's going opposite the shallow on the shoot route. Okay, so that motion that I was talking about, or that Y, we'll go Y before we go to motion. Y shallow, so the backside slot is now the H. He now has the outside release dig. Push to 10, go inside. The back is now on the Y side, running the shoot. Everything else stays the same. So it's a very simple concept, inexpensive. We put this in our second day install, and we do all the tags, the Y, the H, we go through all 4 receivers. And that's our deep drop for day 2 install. So the motion we like to do is called the fly motion. It's short. And I usually run this when I'm running Z shallow. So I'll take Z and put him out wide at the bottom of the numbers, and we'll call Z fly. So he'll motion in. Once we stack behind the Y, we snap the ball, and then he runs the shallow. This gives him a good free release if we're seeing press coverage or we're seeing cover 2 or something like that. We'll motion him, and it creates an inside release, or a free inside release. And the corner, when he sees that motion, he usually tightens with him, and then it creates all sorts of hectic for the safety in the corner and the outside backer because they don't know who's going where. So if you don't have this fly motion in, coaches, I would strongly suggest you put it in because it works wonders when creating free releases. But everything else stays the same. The backside slot has the outside release dig at 10 yards. The back has the arrow route away from the shallow, and the remaining receivers run the vertical as fast as possible. And the thing I love about this for my quarterbacks, it keeps everything simple because no matter who we tag on the shallow, the progression read stays the same. It's always shallow to dig to running back in the flat. So those are my diagrams. Coaches, if you want these diagrams, shoot me an email, shoot me a message, and I'll be sure to get these to you. And so I have a few clips I'd like to show also of us running the shallow. And if I can get these up here. Not as technically sound as I thought I was, Coach.
Who is?
All right. And if you guys hear that, that is my son in the background. He will be 2 in August.
He's trying to tell you what button to push.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let's do that. All right, let's try to share our screen here. Okay, here we go. So this was my first head coaching job when I was at Pasquotank County High School in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. We're in a 2x2 set. We only run shallow out of this set, and we have a Y shallow cross coming. You'll see Y at the top of the screen in the slot. He's going to run the shallow. He gets about a yard down the field. We don't want him too deep. We just want him to replace the heels of these defensive linemen. This H right here in the slot at the bottom of your screen, he doesn't push to 10 yards, and you'll see how it affects the play if you don't get to that 10-yard mark. Z down at the bottom, he has a vertical. X down at or Z at the top, he has a vertical. X down at the bottom, he has a vertical. And the back, we actually made a call to the back to stay in protection because you're gonna see a blitz come late, and he has to stay in and pick that up. And you'll see the quarterback and the Y communicate it. So we're gonna let this run. You'll see the blitzer coming. They communicate it. He stays in, and he doesn't push to 10. You'll see the H doesn't push to 10 right there. He pushes to about 6 or 7. And so the backer that otherwise would be dropping, he makes a play on the shallow because the other outside backers are coming. So he makes a play on the shallow. But if you notice, okay, you'll notice this safety stepping up. And so we make that, we see that on the sideline, and we make a note of that. So what we do is later in the game, we call a shallow route, and went too far. Okay, we call a shallow route here. And again, our H doesn't push the vertical. You'll see in the later clips in the first game of the season, he actually pushes to 10. I'm not sure why he didn't do it here, but he doesn't push to 10, but we see that safety getting nosy back here. So we call a Y shallow X post, okay? And once that safety takes a step up, we throw the post right behind him. Boom, right there. So you'll see here, that safety just takes a step up right there. See that? He gets nosy right here, and then the post comes right behind him. And we're off to the races. So if we look it back, if our quarterback throws a rainbow instead of a strike right on his chest, if he throws a rainbow over the top and lets him run underneath it, this is a touchdown. But it was our first year in the system, so we kind of had to learn those little nuances. So I'll run it back and let the whole clip run. Safety just takes a step up. That's all we need. Throw it right behind him. And we're off to the races. Okay. Next clip, you'll see an all-out blitz against our offensive line here. We only have 5 to protect, and they send about 7 at us. So our quarterback just does the get big drill and drops back and just lets it go right as he crosses the center line. This is one of those times where, you know, we like to throw it outside of the box, but this is one of those times where you got to get rid of it sooner than you want. So they send an all-out blitz. He has to get rid of it now. Okay, and there's no other read there. We even made a call to the back to protect, and they still got home. So get rid of it now and live with it. I believe this was on a 4th down. So okay. And so the next one is when I was at Bisbee here in Arizona. This was actually this past season, 2023. We were playing against Tanker Verde, and the region title was on the line. So this is a 4th and like 5. And you'll see it's protected very good. They do a little inside stunt. and the shallow crosser is wide open. We just see it too late. You know, the ball should be out right there. And the defensive lineman just gets his hands up and bats it down. So, but as you can see, the slot pushes to 10. Okay. The shallow crosser comes underneath. There's nobody there. If we throw that just a little sooner, I think we have a big play on our hands. Outside releases by the X and the Z coming underneath. Get that ball out just a little bit sooner, and we got a big play. So that is the shallow concept and some tags off of it.
You did a great job, man. A lot of your coaching points are almost exactly like ours are. I can tell you're a coached up air raid guy. And we actually took the shallow out of this out of our package, but I'm this close to sticking it back in. I've had a couple guys come on and talk shallow, and I just forgot the simplicity of it and the effectiveness of it.
Oh, absolutely.
But you do a great job coaching up the details.
Yes, sir. And I actually prefer shallow to some of the other concepts because of its simplicity, you know, and you know it's very inexpensive. Like I said, you can tag it different ways. You could even formation it. Some guys call, you know, drive. It's the same thing, just out of 3x1. But I personally don't do it just for simplicity's sake. And you know, you're only as good as, you know, you can teach, and you're only as good as your athletes on the field. So if you can teach your athletes this concept, I think it'll really help any offense.
I was at a clinic with and Leach was talking, and he said that you could you know, just because of the investment, you could make shallow your you know, your hallmark play in the system, and get rid of mesh.
Absolutely.
And 14 coaches fainted right there in the clinic, and they had to call the
I can't
EMTs
lie, I
in.
probably would have been one of them. Yes, sir.
But he did say that. But man, you did a great job. I appreciate it, buddy. And North Carolina coaches, let's get this guy back home. Appreciate it,
Yes,
man.
sir. Thank you. I appreciate you.